Hey guys, Heavy Arms 45 here. My y'all miss me? I've been gone for a month. I've had some issues. I'm just gonna say that. I'm not gonna give y'all any excuses. But yeah, some stuff had came up. And one of the stuff while I was away apparently came up was that we're all in quarantine now because of the coronavirus. And I hope that y'all are being safe. It's a crazy thing because no one knows if they have it or not. But the thing about that is that with that going on, places are being shut down. People are losing their jobs. Some people might get uh, $1,200 or 2,000. I mean $2,400. Um, a lot of y'all might get it. Well, a lot of us are supposed to get it. All based on your tax returns. It all depends on what happens. Um, with that being said, with us, a lot of us being in quarantine, we're trying to figure out what to do. I've caught up on the animes I'm watching right now, which I can go through the animes real quick. I'm still watching One Piece. I'm watching Boruto, Black Clover, Interspecies Reviewers, uh, Inspector, uh, Somali. I can't remember what the last part of it was. Uh, Plunderer. I'm watching all those, and I'm keeping up on those as and watching them as they coming out on Crunchyroll or whichever one I can find it on. But also with this time, because you have hours of being by yourself, wondering what were you gonna do. I went ahead and looked back into my library and I looked at a couple shows, and I watched a couple shows that I hadn't. I mean, that also just came out, and so I'm gonna talk about space shows because I do like watching space shows, and I'm gonna tell you why. I have a list of a couple space shows that I watch. Like I've watched since this whole thing's been going on: Firefly, Star Trek, um, The Expanse. Like I literally watched with the time I had The Expanse from the first season to the last season, and I guess I have to wait till the end of this year to get to the fifth season that they have. So I've watched four seasons, and then I watched Dark Matter. Um, and let me just talk about them because I'm gonna tell y'all in what I see in common out of all of them. And let's start off with Firefly. Firefly, they are very. I'm not happy of the Firefly universe. The Firefly universe is all about the Alliance versus the Browncoats, or at least that's what it basically boils down to. The Alliance is this big bad group of people who feel that they are just in what they're doing, but you have the main characters of Firefly who were Browncoats, where at least two of them was. Um, Malcolm Reynolds and Zoe were browncoats during the war, and it was kind of like going back to Civil War. There was a fight, and one had more money and more power to be able to swing around than the other one, and they won. Um, Not to say that I'm glad in that Civil War who won. With this one, you see a lot more who was trying to save themselves, and because through Malcolm, you see that they're not trying to rob from. They're playing Robin Hood, but they're not trying to rob from people who are really poor and things like that. They're just trying to help regular people get by. Like when they trying to get medicine to help the sick because they need that mess. And literally, they had a job from a, I won't say a rich tycoon that's kind of crazy, that was kind of crazy, who wanted them to rob this train. Then they come find out that the train had medicine going to this town in some backwater planet. So they quit the job, gave the money back to the guy, and the guy didn't like that. Because also they killed one of his men, but if they wouldn't have, the man would try to kill them. So you gotta do what you gotta do. But in that case, and I go with lots of on the idea of would I want to be in that world? And the answer in that one is no. I don't like the universe. I but I don't like the universe. I will say that. But I do like the characters that I see in Firefly. I got very interested in Wash, Zoe, Malcolm, Kaylee. Didn't didn't really. Simon was okay, but he wasn't a character that I really cared about until he did some stuff that I thought was interesting. Um, Jane was always runner. Him and Shepard were the two that was on the very bottom part of the ladder. I did. If I had a whole episode about Jane or Shepard, I wouldn't have cared. Um, I have heard rumors, and I'm sorry I'm not well read on this, that Shepard does have a book telling you all the stuff that he did before he came and joined the Serenity crew. I probably should read that, but I didn't. But it does sound like he was a very interesting person. He is so many different things to so many people. And it explains why he's always able to find ways of doing stuff when he just supposed to be in a monster his whole life. Because he says he's a shepherd, but he wasn't always a shepherd. Um, so, you know, his backstory would probably put him a little bit higher to me than Jane. The only thing, because Jane was always about the money, which I have no problem with. He is the, like, I don't know if I would call him a toxic male, but he is a very, me focused person. But the person that I've always held on to and I want to know what happened to was River. River was always the person that I was like, she's gonna be so tough when she get older. And then we come out with the movie Serenity, and she takes out a whole room of Reavers by herself. Everyone else in the show has been running from Reavers. You don't even want to mess with a Reaver. And she takes out a room of them. The door opens up, the axes that she has in her hands bloody, and you see the walls break down behind her. And the lines that's around her looking like they finna take her down. You see the blood drifting off her weapons. And I'm like, even though they got her surrounded by automatic weapons, I think she could take all of them down with those two axes. I promise you, I thought that was the case. And I've watched her other stuff, like not River herself, but the woman who played her. I've seen her in Arrow and in the unit, and I think and I heard about her being in the Terminator Sarah Connor Chronicles, but she'll always be Rivertown to me. Would love to see if they could, if Josh wouldn't be willing to maybe not go back to that exact crew, but maybe somebody who crossed paths with them. Maybe a little bit goofier group. And, I would like to see Wash one more time. Wash. But, yeah, I did like them. And going to the next one I have, Star Trek. Now, when I say I watched Star Trek, I didn't watch all of Star Trek during this time. I'm just gonna talk about them in general because the one that I'm watching right now is Star Trek Picard, and you have to understand, I've been following Star Trek. I'd never watched the original season, like the original Star Trek with um Captain Picard, not Captain Picard, Captain James Tiberius Kirk, Bones, and all them. I didn't catch up to them till I started watching the movies. I watched the Star Trek movies, so I saw Spock die. I saw the part that say "Khan" and all those famous movie quotes. Then I got into seeing the Star Trek: The Next Generation. So I've seen Next Generation. I saw Deep Space Nine. I saw after Deep Space Nine, I watched Voyager. And I watched Enterprise. Then I started watching Discovery, and I've watched, like I said, Picard. And I'm seeing a change in the way that uh, Starfleet is being run. When you first saw Starfleet going from uh, Next Generation to Voyager, it's this idea of, um, we're good people. Starfleet is the idealistic um, group that you would think they'll be. You know, we're all about unity. We don't mess with other races that are not as advanced as us. If we find groups that are more advanced, we will try to talk to them, and maybe we can do an exchange of technology. No, we're always trying to help better each other, not just force people into doing what we want them to do. Like in Firefly, that, and in some ways, they were in the first part of the story. I mean, the first few iterations of Star Trek, they were this ideal group. They always were trying to help people. They had maybe small internal struggles, but it was to try and get to what they figured would be a better society together. But as you watch Discovery and um, Picard, you see the cracks in this facade that they have, and I could blame it on their want to be more adventurous. Because if you, because not if you, but the situation is this: a lot of people like action shows. So they've made Star Trek more of an action show. And I'm not saying there wasn't any fighting before, but they always tried to go with the idea of space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of Starship Enterprise. Our mission to explore, to seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly go where no man has gone before. Which is odd because none of them has ever went anywhere that they haven't gone before, except for um not except for Voyager. Voyager went out into the uh Delta Quadrant and was never seen. Yeah, I think they were, was it the Delta Quadrant? And they were years away from each other. Everyone else, what you have to understand is they they basically explored where they were told was safe in their little sandbox. Like, someone will go out and be like, okay, this whole area is someplace where we say that the Federation is okay to go to. Like, they always said, like, if we go that far, we'll be hitting the Romulan border. So they talked to everyone that was safe in the little boxes they knew that was in their area. And those planets, they dealt with those people. In that situation, though, you don't know who you're going to run into. Uh, sure, but you know that where you're going to is a safe place. You don't have to worry about gunfire. Hence why we had people like Jean-Luc Picard's Enterprise C. He had either No, he had Enterprise D. His Enterprise was able to have living quarters for families because they already knew where they were going to. It was going to be someplace that, sure, it could there could be minor attacks, but we're going places where it's safe for us to go to. We know that these places we're going to and not don't have any real danger, so we can bring our families with us. That's why they always try to say that they were scientists. We're only trying to find the facts, even though at the same time they were always going into, like, you saw the wars that they went into. You had the Borg war that they had, but as you watch Discovery and Picard, like I said, you see those cracks now. That the fight isn't just coming from outside sources. There's fights coming from inside sources. Um, and so it shows that Starfleet isn't this perfect society. They're not as great as people thought they were. They're flawed. And in some cases, in my mind, they're about as bad as the Alliance is in some cases, as the in Firefly. And so, and the reason is because you see in I'm trying to remember what their names were, but starting off in Voyager, you saw that there were a group of people in Voyager that actually it was back in Deep Space Nine that you hear about them, but they are more prominent once you get into the first part of Voyager because um, this group of people didn't like how, and I can't remember their name. I I'm sorry that I'm bad at names, but these people were didn't like how Starfleet was doing stuff, so they decided to revolt, like the Brown Coast did in Firefly against the Alliance. So the Alliance and Starfleet basically tried to fight them away. They tried some negotiation. I will give Starfleet, they did try to talk it out, but when these people decided that they didn't want to do any more talking, they started fighting with them. Like, it wasn't a big fight because these were kind of like militiamen. They didn't have a lot of arms. They basically did guerrilla tactics on a lot of situations, which is why some people wonder if Cisco was a bad captain for polluting the air of this one planet to where these people had to move. My answer is he didn't kill anybody. He just made one planet uninhabitable. There are, as they said, several planets around there. So they could have found someplace else. But do I agree with how Starfleet dealt with it? No. But, you know, looking between Firefly and Star Trek though, you see the kind of like the two sides of the coin. Like, let's say that the Alliance was Starfleet and these I'm about to say the militants were like the group from the crew of Serenity. You see rich or very wealthy organization going against the little man. And that's literally all it is. Um you basically seeing that whenever the little guy gets out of line, the big guy's going to come in and try and knock him down. On the other side of this, we have the expanse. The expanse just shows that everybody is full of crap. Everyone is always trying to look out for themselves. Earth feels like they are superior because we were the first ones. Earth is, they're the motherland They were the ones who were able to send people off to Mars. Those and in between Mars and Earth, there are a group of uh, space stations that they called the Belt. So the Belt basically is kind of like different and asteroids and stuff like that that stay right where they that they're able to make livable for people. And on these places, there's not a lot of high gravity, so they have to sort of keep grav boots on, and because that their bones are not as dense, and it can't even handle Earth gravity because they were born outside of gravity. So their bodies start hurting, and they look a little bit malnourished. Yeah, but everything is our fault. Earth is this rich, pompous world that basically everything that goes on there is messed up. Earth send people to Mars. Mars' whole thing is we're going to terraform Earth. No matter, I mean, not terraform Earth. We are going to terraform Mars and make it a livable place where we can grow stuff, and we wouldn't have to have this dome over us. But same thing with if they were from the Belchers, they call it. They have gravity, but their gravity is not as much as Earth's gravity. Um, and I looked it up one time, but I can't. I think it's like uh, a quarter, a half or 3/4 of Earth's gravity. It's not as much as Earth's gravity, but it's a gravity. Um, but the thing is that when you watch it, like Earth is trying to make sure that they stay sovereign, but they have this superior. Like we have more knowledge, and that's where it comes from, really. Like if you look at it, Earth has several different people, and it's kind of militaristic. If you're not in the military, kind of like it is on Mars. If you're not in the military, you're nothing. Earth has a lottery to try and get you into a job, but that leaves a lot of people unemployed because no one has a job, because we only have one position and we have all these different people vying for this position. And it's like, okay, I've been in the lottery for the last 30 years. I put it in when I was 18. You too old for the position, I would think then. Because you have to think about each time somebody is not getting to a lottery, that person then has to go find something else to do, which there is nothing to do because all the jobs are full. Apparently, the problem with Earth is overpopulation. Hence why they send people out. You know, people can go to the belt and all this stuff. But by doing that, you don't get to be a Earther anymore. You're then go to some place like if you're in the belt, you're someone hated because you're Earther. You're inner. You know, you're not a belter loader. So you're not a so you're not I'm sorry. Uh so because you're not a belter, they hate you because you came from Earth, and you think you're better than them because you lived on Earth's ground. You lived on Earth where you don't have to worry about all this stuff. You probably eat luxury food. You probably ate this, not knowing that you starving just like the regular Joe that was down there. I mean, like anybody else that's in the belt. Or you could go to Mars, where Mars' whole thing is we are a military versus Earth. Because Earth might have been where we started at, but they took everything from us. Soon as we left Earth and we started talking about terraform here, they shunned us. They don't give us anything. We got to do everything for ourselves. And I can understand that. Their actions are trying to save the home they have. Like, let's say someone came and said, let's take a parent way of thinking of it. Your mom gives you a house. You know, After your mom gives you a house, she doesn't have nothing to do with you. She does. She starts trying to ask you for money for the house. When you're like, Mom, I thought it was a gift. No, she wants you to pay her for that house. You know, you ask her for food for your house and stuff like that. She doesn't send you food. Barely sends you. You know, you got enough room to make you a nice little garden or something like that. You can't find nowhere to get seeds. Why? Because your mom owns everything. So, that would make you resentful of your mom. You probably at first really care for your mom. But because of the way she's at, you don't feel like, you don't feel love from her anymore. So what's the whole thing? It's a thin line between love and hate. Your love for her starts turning to hate. And you like, I'm going to get myself by hook or by crook. So that's why I say a lot of stuff in the expanse is about, besides all the alien stuff going on, all most of the stuff is literally a fight between Earth and Mars to try and gain superiority over the other. The belt is somewhere in the middle, and they're kind of like, they're like the little kid that, hey, I'm here. You need to give me respect. I want a seat at the table too. And so you have the belt trying to get a seat at the table at among these two people that's fighting all the time. And really, to think about it, the belt has more people than anybody, because when you hear about them, they're on all these different stations. And I don't know how many stations that there was. I know we hear about a couple stations first. We hear about Arrows, the median station, and the only reason I know these names is because I just saw these shows, like I said. Um, yeah, Gamine, Arrows, Sirius, and Tycho Station. We know about those stations. But when you hear them talking, they're talking about they have Belchers everywhere. But the Belchers have what they have, kind of like a union, but the union kind of is in factions. There are like 1,000 factions of Belters out there, but even though there's 1,000 Belters, none of them have like one voice. So a lot of times, or in most of the time, you have these two characters that are trying to unite the belt and put them as being equal with Earth and Mars. Because, when two people are fighting, you definitely want to be one people that's able to throw a punch, apparently. Yeah, that was smart. But that's their point. The Belters want everybody, like I said, is trying to gain equality. They're trying to show that either they're equal or superior to the other one. Someone's always looking out for themselves. And the sad thing is that is not the main story of the show. The main characters are basically constantly being bombarded with this situation, even though what they're dealing with has minimum amount of stuff to do with this situation. This Everything that I just said is sort of a backstory to the main situation that's going on, but it's it's the backstory, but it's also the meat of the story at the same time. Like, what the main characters are doing is sort of like the skeleton and what's holding everything together. But what they're doing also kind of puts the meat to it. Like, my mom used to write for her English class, and she would ask me to read it. I was like, you need some more meat on this, like how if you go to English, they're like, fluff it up a bit, So, if all you have is a skeleton, you don't really have much. If I was to go back and take the expanse from just take out all stuff that wasn't about this, what was going on outside, one, I'd probably be confused. Because some of this stuff, like I said, is not the main story, but it kind of links into, and they kind of weave together to make a bigger story than what you thought it would be. Because you think, oh, it's just about this. And it is just about this. But, you didn't know that all this stuff links up to something else. But yeah. And the last one that I have is a show that I haven't watched all of it again, but um the name of the show is Dark Matter. Dark Matter, on the other hand, is about in it's someone like watching Firefly. If Firefly was out of its mind nuts, well, not out of its mind nuts, but this is a little bit more ruthless of a show in a way. These people are pirates. They not pirate are, but they rob from people. They are mercenaries for the most part. They do whatever job they can get to get money. They are ruthless. They are dangerous. But there's a silver line to this. They don't remember this. The whole show starts off with these people, and I don't remember their actual names. And I can explain this. I had said earlier in this that I am not good with names. But the reason I'm not good with names in this one is because you don't know all of their names. The whole story, like I said, is set up where they all wake up on a ship with no memory of who they were. They were in cryostasis for a long trip that they were going on, and no one remembers who in the world they are. That's the fact. No one remembers who they are. So, because they don't remember who they are, they don't call themselves by their names. They don't even remember what their names are. So they call each other up by the number of who woke up by that time. And so I'm going to tell y'all by number who I liked. I didn't like one. He was a whiny little girl. He was in most cases I would have probably liked to hang around. I would have liked his character because he was sort of the Captain Save-A-Hole character of the show. But he whined so much that I was like, no, that's not, and Captain Save-A-Hole. But yeah, I didn't like. Two, she was in charge. She was cool. I thought she was cute too. I'm not feeling lie about that. But, I liked her character because of her leadership and her special abilities that she had. Three was not my favorite. Three was a jerk. He was kind of like the Jane of the show. He had several guns. He liked money. But as you watch the show, he somewhat gets a heart. But he still wants money. But he gained a little bit of heart through this process of watching the show. Then you have four. Four I liked. Four was and I don't know if you don't watch the show, but Four was a prince that decided to, and I believe Four was a prince who decided to leave home because he was framed for a murder that he didn't commit. So he decided to join a pirate crew and rob people and kill people. Yeah, that makes sense. But with no memory of this, he is just a sword katana wielding guy who kills just about everybody he runs into. And I know if you watch the show and you know what I'm talking about, you're like, that's not a katana. And I don't know what's the name of it. It looks like katana, but I know it's more like what uh, Donatello had. I mean, Leonardo had in Ninja Turtles, but I know it's not a katana. But we'll just say with the katana right now. Um, so with that being said, I'm on to the next one. Five. Five is a techno genius of a girl who knows how to work around technology. She's really good at it. I liked her just because she wasn't the most innocent character. When you meet her, she does not sound like the most innocent character, but she is sort of the heart of the crew. She is friends with the android that you meet later on in the first episode, and she is a pretty cool person. You know, she is pretty level headed. She's normally trying to do stuff to help people. And she also seems to be the only one who can knows everybody's memories because for some reason she can access other people on the crew's memories. But I don't think I ever figured out why. I have to go. I gotta keep watching and see. And then you have six. Six. A big black man with a big gun. That was six. I'm serious. His character, his character was a nice guy. He was a nice, friendly guy. But the thing about him was he was a big black man with a big gun. You can try to prove me wrong, but that's what I remember about him. Big black man, big gun. And what's the key to all these? Oh, I forgot to name that part about it. Before I get into that, it'll go into this. The thing that's essential to all of these is that they were big. You have major powers basically beating down on smaller powers in some cases, and trying to distort stuff in their own way. And that's why I'm gonna say this about dark matter. Dark matter is all about corporations. Imagine, if you would, that everything in today's time, instead of you having a government, you have a police force. There's like one unified police force. This police force makes sure that everybody is legally doing stuff correctly because these corporations made these certain laws together. And so this police force is there to keep the peace. On that same cases, everything is being run by either Microsoft, Disney, Apple, and what's another good person I could put in there? Let's put Sony in there. Sony is a small corporation. They're big in other areas. So let's say, using the Earth, Microsoft owns everything that happens in the United States. Africa is being run by Apple, and all of Asia is being run by Sony. Okay, and we'll give them Japan also. Don't want to, but I will. So all these people are these four companies are running. Oh yeah, these four corporations are running everything. And I understand that I left Europe out of somebody owning it. You understand to say. So they own these places. There is espionage going on to try and get technology that each of the other ones have so that they can basically sell it off for themselves. So they're sending people like the main characters in Dark Matter, to go in there and steal these people's stuff to try and trying to get this technology and sell it off for themselves. Now, Europe, on the other hand, is a bunch of independent countries united together because they're independent. Well, these companies saying that there's a lot of wealthy, these corporations saying there's a lot of wealthy things in these areas. So what do they decide to do? They decide to plunder it. So they start sending people in to try and give the people a nice little nudge of suggest like, hey, maybe you need to go ahead and let us come in here and help y'all with this stuff. No, we don't need y'all. And then they started saying, no, you really need us to come in here and help y'all. Because we would hate for someone to come in like blow y'all up, aka we don't shoot y'all if y'all don't let us come in here. That is what it is. And so you have that going with what I said about Starfleet and the belt, well, not the belt, Earth and Mars and the Expanse and the Alliance and Firefly. All these people are very powerful people that are taking advantage of not weaker races, but weaker colonies and stuff like that, and weaker planets, just because they can. You know, they don't see these people as being equal because capitalism, because of power, take your pick. They just want their own thing. And that's not the reason I like them. And it's not because of the drama of them. It's because of the stories you can tell. You know, if I just had a show that's like, hey, I went to Mars as we get there, you know, if I don't know if I want to see, like, I know we call some of these shows a space opera, but if you had the same, let's say we put The Young and the Restless in space, I don't know if I want to watch it. I don't know of anyone who want to watch it. You know, sure we have like relationships in space, but you don't have you might have occasional murder in soap operas a lot of times, and you want to know who done it. But a lot of times, like, what's the whole situation going in Young and Restless? All this is over a perfume company or a clothing line, something like that. So this whole thing is about trying to sell perfume. Is there anyone ever shot in it? No. Most of the stuff that's going on is the drama between Victor, Jack, Nikki, and most of it's coming from one man. I think most stories come from people having a problem with something Victor's doing. And sometimes Victor's doing some really savage stuff. Sometimes he's doing stuff that's basically just, I'm trying to help my family. They said my son killed someone. I don't think so. So I'm going to go ahead and cover it up for him. Sometimes, which, if you're rich, wouldn't you try to hide the murder that your son did? But I don't see someone watching an actual, like, soap opera set in space. That would be kind of weird. But, I do like the drama. I like the idea of, the people floating in space. There are perks to each one of these. But like I said, Firefly, I wouldn't want to be in the Firefly storyline, world. I wouldn't want to be in the dark matter world. With the way I am, I would probably, if I don't know if I want to be in the Expanse world, and because I would feel like I'd be either one of two things. I would either be a Earther that sympathizes with the belt, or I'd be a human that Earther that I'll either be a Martian or an Earther that sympathizes with the belt, which means that I will go to the belt and be completely ridiculed because I'm from Earth. I'm an inner, and it don't really end good for some people like that. Because there was one person who, she literally was a friend of a person that was in belt, and because of a situation, all of a sudden she got shot off out of an airlock lock because she was an inner, and it was her fault. This person blamed all of them for what happened. You know, I if I had to pick one, I would probably want to be in the Star Trek universe. Not because it's perfect, but because of uh I guess you say the ideal Starfleet. Because, you know, it's more, even though it's not idealistic, it's probably the closer you'll find to uh being somewhat equal. Granted, there are a lot of dangers in it. I could be assimilated. I could be killed by a group of Romulans or Klingons or anything in the world. But, you know, their technology is a lot better than some places, some of these stores. And if I had to pick one that's not on the list, because I was just talking about ones I've looked at recently, I would have to go with Star Wars. Star Wars wasn't on the list, but some of y'all probably like, it should have been. Star Wars would have been the one that I would like to go to, just because who would not want a lightsaber? And it would sadden me if I found out that a friend of mine was a Sith, but we can't be in the same place. Um, Sad to say. Sad, you know, it'd be sad that I've been out drinking with this guy all this time. We've he probably I probably been to a party with him, or we hung out and did stuff together, and come to find out you're a Sith. Time for you to go. Well, that's gonna be the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed me just rambling on like a crazy man, and I'll catch you later.